Frozen Carbonite and Leia Distress.
What's that? Lucas kind of come full circle, and he's at this point a Jedi. Starts off with him and the rest of the crew going to save their friend Han.
They end up freeing Han, and then there's a scene where they're escaping Jabba.
One of my favorite characters is Boba Fett. And I remember genuinely being upset as a little kid when he died.
Leia kills Jabba. And they go on back to talking about the second Death Star that had been constructed in the times past.
Luke Skywalker returns to Yoda to finish his training, but Yoda tells him to beware of the dark side. And then Yoda fades away, not to die, but fades away as Jedis do.
The Rebel fleet goes down to Endor.
They meet the Ewoks, but, you know, you can get over that.
Now they have Ewoks on their side, and they start to have the battle of Endor.
While this is going on down on the planet in the Death Star, Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, and the Emperor have all met up.
The Jedi battle in the last movie was pretty wonderful. Just a badass action sequence. Lots of cool Jedi action. It was good.
It ends with the Emperor being killed by Darth Vader, when Darth Vader actually turns on him and saves Luke from his death.
I'll not leave you here. I've got to save you.
You're already.
Luke escapes the Death Star just as it's blowing up.
Everything's just happy at the end of that one because he sees that his father, Yoda, and Obi-Wan Kenobi are still there in spirit.
And, you know, there's balance in the universe again.
That's how the Star Wars story ends. When we come back, we'll see how the saga begins. And we've got all the info you need to be ready for Attack of the Clones.
Welcome again to Star Wars, The Force is Back. Okay, we've revisited the storylines from the original Star Wars trilogy. Now let's take a look at the 1999 movie, Phantom Menace, and how it set the stage for a whole new trilogy.
Pretty much ever since the success of Star Wars, decided I would go back and tell the backstory of how everybody got there.
He had a pretty clear idea of the backstory. He knew kind of what he wanted.
Episode 1 starts 30 some odd years before Episode 4, which was the original Star Wars. The story starts out on the planet of Naboo, which has been blockaded by the Trade Federation. There is speculation in the Queen's Palace of what this means.
I will not condone a course of action that will lead us to war.
In Episode 1 of Star Wars, I play Queen Amidala. She's very powerful and she is in control of everyone, yet she's a very good leader.
Our people are dying, Senator. We must do something quickly to stop the Federation.
I play a character called Qui-Gon Jinn. He's a Jedi Master who has an apprentice that is a young Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Be mindful of the living force, young Padawan.
Yes, Master.
I find this boy that will eventually become Darth Vader. He's my charge. I take care of him.
You refer to the prophecy of the one who will bring balance to the Force. You believe it's this boy?
The central issue in the film is that a boy is taken from his mother.
Will I ever see you again? What does your heart tell you?
In The Phantom Menace, young Anakin comes face to face with the woman who will become his future lover, Queen Amidala.
You're a slave? I'm a person, and my name is Anakin.
The Phantom Menace was released 16 years after Return of the Jedi. It took Lucas's company, Industrial, Light, and Magic that many years to develop the right technology to finish the Space Odyssey.
When we did the dinosaurs for Jurassic Park, that was when it really became very clear that we'd reached that level in terms of technology, that we could create totally digital characters that were photorealistic.
Fans stood in line for days, weeks, and even months to get a first glimpse of Episode 1. Also waiting eagerly, the critics.
That's one of the funny things about people writing about this film now. judging it against the rest because they were Star Wars fanatics as kids. And of course they're 28 or 32, whatever now, looking at a film that they want to feel the same way about than the way they did when they were 6. It's not going to happen, you know.
Mediocre reviews didn't hurt the box office. Phantom Menace became the 4th highest grossing film ever. But even with its blockbuster status, many true blue Star Wars fans lost their faith in the Force.
Phantom Menace, you know, took 20 years to basically make this movie. Fans waited for it. There was never as much anticipation as there was for this particular movie.
Basically, the old Star Wars were much better than Phantom Menace.
I like the Phantom Menace. I didn't like the fact that Darth Maul died at the end.
That damn Jar Jar. It was a bit too campy for me.
He's embarrassing.
Jess Cagle is a senior entertainment writer for Time magazine.
With the last movie, Phantom Menace, there were really 2 problems. One was the protagonist of that movie was a 10-year-old kid, and George Lucas acknowledges that that's a problem. What George Lucas doesn't really acknowledge is he was really rusty as a filmmaker.
Okay, cut. He's done a lot. He's gone back to the drawing board to try and find out what his audience wants to see.
You know I don't like it when you do that.
Sorry, Master. I forgot you don't like flying.
I think what you're seeing in Attack of the Clones is, number one, a better story. There was a lot of setup in the last movie. I think George Lucas is more confident as a filmmaker, and the special effects have come a long way, even since 1999. So this one was not as much stress on him, and there's also not as much Jar Jar Binks in this one, which is good for audiences.
The buzz from the Star Wars online community suggests Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, is the movie fans have been waiting for.
The sense of adventure from the original is back. The love story between Anakin and Amidala is poignant, and the battle scenes are as epic as the battle scenes that have been in any of the others.
Blast, that's why I hate flying. We decided to come and rescue you.
Good job. Coming up on Star Wars The Force is Back, we go to the top secret set of Attack of the Clones, but first, Natalie Portman gets a sexy makeover.
In the Star Wars universe, style matters, because creating a story that transports audiences to another place means designing costumes that are out of this world.
In the original Star Wars trilogy, Princess Leia was one tough lady who had no problem wielding a blaster.
Into the garbage, fly boy!
But come on, what we really remember is her famous hairstyle. Valerie Steele is the acting director of the museum at the Fashion Institute of Technology.
I think it was carefully designed so that it was still flattering. The part on top with the center part and the smooth hair fit in with the current idealization of the female face and hair. But then you had something on the sides which would say, this is exotic, this is different.
I made the Princess Leia, very, very simple. Just completely simple. No design, no fashion, no nothing.
Star Wars creator George Lucas also kept the costumes tame for Luke and Han Solo, but he went wild creating the looks for most everyone else in his universe. Think of Darth Vader, now a film icon, the black robe, the body armor, the helmet. David Prowse was the man behind the mask.
So it went on in about 15 different pieces, and it was all made from quilted leather and fiberglass, and of course you got the 2 capes as well. It was hot. It weighed about 40 pounds, but it used to perspire so much in it, and all the heat used to rise up and go into the mask and mist up the eyepieces, and then you couldn't see where you were going.
Lucas also developed the look of the lovable yet temperamental Wookiee, Chewbacca. It is rumored that Lucas's dog, an Alaskan Malamute, was the inspiration for Chewie. Peter Mayhew filled the wool costume.
It is a mohair knitted suit with yak hair individually knotted through that suit. So it's fine in normal studio conditions. It does get a bit warm.
And certainly we can't forget what may be perhaps the most memorable costume, the tin casing which brought droid C-3PO to life. Sure, he looked great, but for the actor in the outfit, Anthony Daniels, it was another story.
Since I get all the time, how do you go to the bathroom in that? And is it hot in the costume? And they get me out pretty quickly because I start screaming.
For the wardrobe in Episode 1, exotic fabric was shipped in from all over the world to dress Natalie Portman's character, Queen Amidala. Ian McKay was the conceptual designer on The Phantom Menace.
The designs are a little more outlandish, especially for the Queen. We looked all over, Mongolia and Tibet and just everywhere to find inspiration for our costumes. George said that this film is definitely a costume drama.
The costumes do draw attention to themselves. They have to, because they're in a more sophisticated society. The film takes place over a period of time, and somebody of that stature would automatically be changing her costumes to fit the occasion. She travels, she goes to the Senate.
When I initially saw the designs, I was like, wow, I have to do this.
The Phantom Menace had some of the best costumes done in any film recently. They were really brilliant in the way that they captured an exotic dynasty far away through exploring costume elements taken from East Asia.
It's good for like the effect of the film, as long as it doesn't like give me brain damage or anything. I'm all for it.
To create the bold and powerful look needed to portray the Queen, Natalie Portman spent a lot of time each day in the makeup chair.
It was about 2 to 2.5 hours in hair and makeup. Having the strange makeup and hair really made me feel different. You feel like a different person.
Popular films often have an influence on fashion. The original Star Wars is no exception.
One of the most popular styles in the 1970s was to have the hair parted in the middle and then smoothed down on either side. And you see that with Princess Leia.
Leia's sidebuns never became a sensation, but it seems fashion designers certainly took notice of the elaborate costumes and makeup in Episode 1. When The Phantom Menace was released, it was common to see futuristic styles on the runway.
There was certainly a lot of interest in the fashion press in this movie's costumes. Certainly around that time you saw extraordinary collections.
Soon after the release of Phantom Menace, New York hairstylist Giovanni Gintoli has had his share of requests from Amidala wannabes.
A lot of people are calling up the salon, they're wanting something new.
It's very nice, I love it. I would definitely have it done again.
The Queen's look at Episode 1 got the audience's attention, but in Attack of the Clones, the look is more toned down for Natalie's character, who is now Senator Padme Amidala.
My costumes are a little bit more revealing this time, much more feminine, not as rigid.
This one is much more about making her as beautiful as we possibly can. That's beautiful. You have a much more romantic story, so that Padme's costumes are obviously more sultry in nature and, revealing and pretty.
Revealing is right.
There's one costume that George designed himself. And that was sort of the costume that, I came on set and everyone was like, oh.
Costume designer Tricia Bigger.
As George sort of progressed with the script, he sort of realized more that he wanted to show a softer, sort of friendlier side to Padme.
It's the great way that George sort of portrays women. She's this like tough, smart woman that everyone's trying to kill because she's such a powerful leader, and she also wears the coolest clothes.
It's now time to play a game we like to call 6 Degrees of Star Wars with Kathy Pillsbury, the resident Star Wars geek on Comedy Central's Beat the Geeks. Here's how it works. We challenge Kathy to tell us in 6 degrees or less how Phantom Menace's winged Watto is related to Wicket, the Ewok from Return of the Jedi.
No problem. See, Watto was the slave owner on Tatooine of Anakin Skywalker, also known as Darth Vader, who was the father of Luke and Leia. Leia was the first person on the moon of Endor to meet up with the Ewoks, and that first Ewok was Wicket.
Not bad. We'll challenge Kathy more later, but when we come back, Yoda kicks some major butt. That's right, Yoda.
Cuando le das un espacio a un bebé, perdiste. Con el pis pasa lo mismo. Haggis presenta Haggis Mimito Active Sec, un pañal diseñado para ayudar a que el pis no se escape. Su nuevo sistema de absorción activa concentra más material absorbente donde tu bebé más lo necesita, ayudando a evitar filtraciones en la entrepierna y la espaldita. Nuevo Haggis Mimito Active Sec, porque con un pañal que absorbe más, ahorras más. Haggis, bebés felices.
Usted está viendo Infocus.
Welcome back to our look at the Star Wars series. So what is a clone, you ask? Good question. We're going to talk about that as we focus on Attack of the Clones, and see how my character finally gets to see some action.
Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, finds Jedi in training Anakin Skywalker fighting the demons that will ultimately lead him to the dark side.
The movie is essentially a story about Anakin and Anakin's dealing with his emotions, the difficulty of his being torn between his duty and his emotional needs, which relate to Padme.
Must be difficult having sworn your life to the Jedi.
He understands that as a Jedi, he's not allowed to fall in love. It's that confusion that really causes him all of his anxiety.
Anakin's flaws, like all classic mythological heroes, are the flaws that everyone carries with them. The issues that he's confronting is that a good Jedi overcomes those flaws.
What is it? Pain, suffering, death, I fear.
Anakin is starting to display some interesting characteristics that need to be watched closer.
The story picks up 10 years after The Phantom Menace. Anakin's assigned to protect Natalie Portman's character, Padme Amidala, after an assassination attempt. No longer the Queen of Naboo, Padme is now a stately senator.
She doesn't have to be as formal and ritualized in her behavior, so that allows for a lot more, relaxed way of being in her regular life that eventually leads her to falling in love.
Do you have any idea who's behind this attack?
We will find out who's trying to kill you, Padme. I promise you.
Ewan McGregor is back as Obi-Wan Kenobi. This time, moviegoers will see the gentle knight in full detective mode.
While Anakin is sent to protect the Padme, Obi-Wan goes off to see if he can solve the mystery of who's trying to kill her.
At the same time, I discover something that leads to the Clone Wars.
You fought in the Clone Wars?
Yes. I was once a Jedi Knight, the same as your father.
The fateful Clone Wars, first mentioned in the original trilogy, come to life in Episode 2.
They are using a bounty hunter named Jango Fett to create a clone army. Wait.
The idea of stormtroopers and where did they come from was a part of that. I had to sort of come up with a solution.
I will create a grand army of the Republic to counter the increasing threats of the Separatists.
Your clones are very impressive. You must be very proud.
They'll do their job well. It was like being Dirty Harry in space, you know.
Boba, get on board!
This is actually the beginning of the Clone Wars, so there's a lot of intense action sequences in this film.
A lot of people think Episode 2 is just a sweet, intimate love story. But actually, I think it's truly the most action-packed of all the films that we've done so far.
People getting wiped out, man. There's some wipeouts in this movie.
It's not very fun not to have a lightsaber when everyone else gets a lightsaber. And I get these guns that look like little hair dryers.
This is the first time that we really get to see all the Jedi in action, which is an amazing sight.
It would be a shame for me to participate in a film like this and never get to use my lightsaber. You do find out that when Mace decides to take action, he's a man of action.
The gun this Clone War has.
I am now Anakin's master, as I was apprentice to Qui-Gon, to Liam's character. He is now my apprentice.
Patience. Use the Force. Think.
Sorry, Master.
Ewan revealed how one particular action sequence with Hayden Christensen made him a little queasy.
They had built this huge hydraulic gimbal. It's like a yellow cab, and it made you seasick, you know. This made you feel like throwing up after about an hour and a half on it.
That was a tough day. I was just being thrown around all day trying to hold on and climbing all over the speeder. It was lots of fun.
Pull up, Anakin. Pull up!
From space-age car chases to all-out clone warfare, composer John Williams is the man behind Episode 2. Williams and George Lucas have worked together since the original Star Wars movie.
Collaborating with George has been a lot of fun over these decades. It's been great with him. We've had great success.
5 films with this huge glossary of themes, but we have no love theme.
So now we have...
Now we've completed the book. This is the first time we've really done a full-out love story, so I wanted to have the love theme be something very, very emotional and very poetic. It was a chance to get, a really beautiful love theme into the series.
Blind we are. Its creation of this clone army we could not see.
In addition to romance, Attack of the Clones will feature fan favorite Yoda, finally showing off his Jedi magic.
I'm extremely pleased with the way Yoda turned out, because that was the biggest challenge we had, and I think he is pretty much indistinguishable from the earlier Yoda from the first trilogy. He's completely digital. There is no puppet there at all anymore.
Senator Amidala, your tragedy on the landing platform, terrible. Seeing you alive brings warm feelings to my heart.
He's so great. I mean, I think he's by far the coolest in this film. I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but he doesn't believe in fighting, but when it comes down to it, if he needs to do what's right, he can whoop anyone's ass. It's amazing.
He actually comes to life and fights with a lightsaber, and you see why Yoda was called a great warrior. In some of the older Star Wars movies, they would refer to him as a great warrior, and that was kind of hard to imagine. Well, in this one, you see why.
Looking to the future, in the summer of 2003, Lucas and his team will once again embark to Australia to begin shooting Episode 3, the proposed final chapter in the galactic fairy tale.
George is, working on it, but I don't know, what exactly he's doing. He still likes to keep his secrets to himself. I know that there has to be some falling out between, myself and Obi-Wan.
It's got to be some big Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Vader fight.
Coming up, we take a look at some of the out-of-this-world weapons from Star Wars.
The Star Wars series has introduced audiences to a universe of intriguing technology, from lightsabers to droids. These legendary films are known as much for their gadgets as for their characters.
My name is Steve Dimzo. I'm Vice President of Product Development for Master Replicas.
Master Replicas was formed for the exclusive purpose of producing exact copies of movie props to be sold to the public. The company's most popular replicas are from the Star Wars series, which are all officially approved by the folks at Lucasfilms.
This is Han Solo's blaster from the first movie, Star Wars A New Hope. And this is a full metal replica of the piece that was used in the first movie. It's pretty heavy. It's about 3 3/4 pounds. Has working bolt action. It's an exact replica of the Mauser that they used for the original prop.
Wokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
The second premier piece in our collection, because we released both at the same time, is the Luke's lightsaber from Return of the Jedi. So Luke had technically 3 different lightsabers throughout the original trilogy, so this is the third and final one that he used. It's very different from the first 2. The first 2 were flash guns. This was actually completely scratch-built for the film.
So if lightsabers were actually real, how would they work?
It's a light beam that stops at about 3 feet long. It cut through pretty much anything except another lightsaber blade.
But children, if they do see one lying around, should never attempt to turn it on, because they're very, very dangerous. And I know it should only be used in the hands of an expert.
The popularity of Master Replicas has allowed the company to explore new territory.
It's a series of lightsabers. They're machine metal, die cast, with very, very high-strength plastic blades and EL technology. So actually, when you power them up, they do all the sound effects, the lights. This is the Yoda lightsaber, which we've just released in our April 23rd edition, which is the Attack of the Clones pieces. So for the first time in any of the Star Wars movies, Yoda is actually using a lightsaber. I had made an actual 3D piece, which Lucasfilm used for reference, but ILM actually CG'd or computer generated all the images in the film. So every time Yoda's seen in the movie using his lightsaber, it's always CGI.
It'll be exciting to see Yoda wielding some technological power in the new film, but let's not forget about the other characters who are themselves masters of technology.
Droids are tools to be used. There are some that just do particular functions, like the moisture evaporators. They're just collecting all the water and stuff. And then there's all the way up to like C-3PO, who is a protocol droid and has to interact with people. And you can get anything in between those.
In the Star Wars universe, it's not easy being a droid. Droids are tortured, ripped apart, and enslaved, but they're just machines, aren't they?
Obviously with C-3PO, because of his higher intelligence level and dealing with people, he would feel more towards being put upon.
We seem to be made to suffer. It's our lot in life.
Hello, I am C-3PO, Human-Cyborg Relations, and this is my counterpart, R2-D2.
Anthony Daniels reprises the role of C-3PO in Attack of the Clones and has already signed on for Episode 3. That will make Daniels and Kenny Baker, the performer who plays R2-D2, the only two actors to appear in all 6 Star Wars films.
When I meant to meet George Lucas, on the wall of the office was this painting by Ralph McQuarrie. And when you look at it, there is this gold figure with this sad look. And our eyes met, and there was this extraordinary sort of buzz, link, I don't know what the word would be. But he seemed to be saying, come with me to my strange world, come.
On screen, C-3PO and R2-D2 are a dynamic duo, with 3PO playing Laurel to R2-D2's Hardy.
I don't know what all this trouble is about, but I'm sure it must be your fault. You watch your language.
R2-D2 is sassy and even gutsy at times, as opposed to C-3PO, who is definitely the resident chicken.
George Lucas has this strange propensity to pull 3PO apart, an arm here, a leg there, and it can be quite painful, I have to tell you, and you know, it ain't stopped yet.
Found him in a junk pile.
What a mess.
But 3PO is not entirely yellow-bellied. Daniels recalls his favorite scene from Return of the Jedi.
There was Han Solo, who kind of always gave C-3PO a hard time, you remember. And there was this moment where 3PO took great pleasure in being able to tell him that
It appears you are to be the main course at a banquet in my honor.
3PO liked that.
And you'll like what's coming up next. When we come back, Star Wars racy romances.
You like me because I'm a scoundrel. There aren't enough scoundrels in your life.
I happen to like nice men.
And we'll also see how Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman turn on the heat for Attack of the Clones.
Discúlpame.
Sí.
Julián, wait, me muero.
Sabes que ella es fanática tuya desde que hacías pelito, más
¿Ah,
o
sí?
menos.
¿No harías lo de la prueba?
¿Qué prueba?
No, ella dice la comparación de la blancura porque yo uso ala.
Pero acá no puedo hacer ninguna comparación porque no tengo con qué, no.
Con las flores de la señora.
¿Vos estás segura?
Segurísimo. Mirá qué blanco.
Y bueno, entonces no hay nada que comparar, ¿o no?
Si tu blanco es ala, no importa cuándo ni dónde. Vos sabés que es el más blanco que existe. Domingo 22 de septiembre.
And the Emmy goes to...
El equipo con mayor experiencia en la cobertura de todas las premiaciones de Hollywood está listo para la entrega de los premios Emmy. En vivo, desde Los Ángeles, los expertos de siempre han preparado una programación amplia y completa para el evento más importante de la televisión. Countdown to the Red Carpet. Live from the Red Carpet, en vivo, doblado al español, y Live Emmy Awards Past Show. Solo en E! Entertainment Television, tu canal de siempre en todas las premiaciones de Hollywood.
A diario, el fútbol, la música popular, la familia y la amistad se mezclan entre infidelidades, enredos y un humor grotesco. En un excelente despliegue técnico, se ruedan los exteriores de esta comedia que mantiene cautivo a los argentinos. Los protagonistas de esta divertida historia los conocerás en Top E! Report. Son amores, este viernes 13, solo en E! Entertainment Television. Este jueves conoceremos más de cerca a Paulina Rubio.
I'm a music girl, totally.
La chica de oro mexicana.
I can express very, very well with music.
Su más reciente álbum, Border Girl.
I'm boarding or crossing the border with my music right now.
Una artista dispuesta a traspasar todas las fronteras musicales.
I would love to conquer the world.
Stream Close Up, Paulina Rubio. Este jueves, solo en E! Entertainment Television. Usted está viendo InFocus.
¡Hey!
Hay cosas que solo se pueden ver en un recorrido detrás de cámara.
Sonido, anda, cámara, acción.
Behind the Scenes, todos los sábados, solo en E! Entertainment Television.
¡Corte! Let's continue our look at the force of Star Wars. The heroes and heroines of this epic tale may be busy fighting the dark side, but that doesn't mean there's no time to fall in love.
All is fair in love in Star Wars. There's passion, jealousy, and seduction. We asked romance novelist Suzanne Enoch where Star Wars fit within the world of romantic fiction.
Han Solo and Princess Leia are very classic romance characters, and they have a very classical fairy tale type romance.
Who are you?
Someone who loves you. In a good romance, you have two incomplete people, and it's something that the other character provides that completes them. That is the great love relationship. So you've got bad boy Han Solo, and he has to have a good heart, otherwise it doesn't work.
I love this sort of like on-again, off-again romance with Han Solo and Princess Leia, and you know, those sort of almost kisses and moments that are so like kind of sexy and yet subdued.
I just assume he's a Wookiee.
I can arrange that.
And then you've got Princess Leia, and she's this gung-ho, work-only, very dedicated, very focused lady who needs some fun in her life.
I happen to like nice men.
Nice man.
Very nice.
Harrison Ford is very handsome. When I saw Star Wars the first time, I fell in love with Luke Skywalker. And then 15 minutes later, we meet Han Solo.
Been waiting for you.
And that was it. Luke who? I think Princess Leia's appeal in the first movie especially was more to girls than to guys, in that she was a cool character and she's a princess.
We used to dress up like the characters for Halloween. My sister was Princess Leia for like 4 years in a row.
That was one of the things where I couldn't wait to get to Hollywood. After I saw the first Star Wars, it was like, I could have been Princess Leia.
But Han was not the only leading man in Leia's life.
I love you.
I know.
Remember, there was also her brother?
Once you've seen the whole trilogy and you go back and you watch it again, the ick factor definitely comes into play, because every time they kiss, you're going, ew, they don't even know their brother and sister and they're kissing.
I've always said that's like the greatest good news, bad news joke I'd ever heard, because yes, there is an eligible woman in the galaxy. She's your sister.
Fairly early on in Empire Strikes Back, Han Solo and Leia, their attraction is brought up very quickly, thank goodness. Because if the love triangle thing had proceeded through the movie, we'd been telling a whole very different sordid story.
There is, however, a new love story George Lucas wants to tell in Attack of the Clones. Lucas created a steamy romance between the characters Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala.
He went back to the drawing board and really worked on getting women into the theaters for this movie.
I think that will drive some of the Star Wars fans crazy. I, however, think that teenage girls are going to really go for it.
Most young girls in the audience will be there for one reason.
Hayden Christensen is also a very good-looking young man. People like a bad boy, the scoundrel, but not necessarily somebody who's arrogant about it. Natalie Portman is a very attractive young lady. I think she'll be a good draw for the young men who come in.
She's just a phenomenal star, just a presence on the screen that people cannot take their eyes off her when she's on.
She goes from being this really stiff, white made-up, blank-faced female in the first movie into wearing these tighter-fitting costumes and the slightly sexier look that she has in the new movie.
Unlike the relationship between Han and Leia, this love story will not have a happy ending. Don't forget that Anakin Skywalker eventually becomes the evil Darth Vader.
The romance in Attack of the Clones, I think, is very problematic. We know it's going to end very, very, very badly.
This is a budding romance that's very flowery and very grab my heart and stomp on it and break it.
If Hayden Christensen does it right, it's going to be like watching a train wreck.
There's a lot of weight for the role of Anakin, but I don't know, I'm excited more than anything else.
If you're not as excited as Hayden yet, we've still got more to come. When we return, we'll see how employees of toy stores and theaters across the nation are preparing for Attack of the Clones.
Paso a paso, minuto a minuto y en vivo desde Los Ángeles, todos los preparativos para la gran noche del Emmy. Las celebridades más esperadas, entrevistas exclusivas y lo mejor de todo, estarás en primera fila junto a los expertos más originales del espectáculo. The 2002 Primetime Emmy Awards. Live Countdown to the Red Carpet. Domingo 22 de septiembre. Solo en Entertainment Television, tu canal de siempre en todas las premiaciones de Hollywood.
Imagínate un trabajo que consista en viajar, conocer nuevos lugares, ir de fiesta en fiesta.
You should give this job to me.
Imagínate un jefe que te pague porque comas y bebas lo que quieras porque te diviertas lo más que puedas.
There's a lot of girls here.
No sueñes más. Wild On busca una nueva anfitriona porque Brooke Burke se queda en Rank.
The search is on for the next host of Wild On.
Puede ser ella, o cualquiera de ellas. Ayúdanos a escogerla y participa de este tour que reúne a muchachas de todo el planeta.
I'd love to be the next Brooke Burke.
Wild On wants you. Solo en E! Entertainment Television. Usted está viendo InFocus. Este viernes daremos un paseo por los sets de filmación de una de las grandes producciones de esta temporada.
You don't see the Tommy Lee Jones that I see.
Conoceremos al elenco.
It's hilarious. From minute to minute, we're having a great time.
Y a un par de criaturas un poco desagradables.
So I tried to get that part, but, you know.
I was a little nerve-wracked going in to do that scene.
Behind the scenes, Men in Black 2. Este viernes, solo en E! Entertainment Television. Este jueves conoceremos más de cerca a Paulina Rubio.
I'm a music girl, totally.
La chica de oro mexicana.
I can express very, very well with music.
Su más reciente álbum, Border Girl.
I'm boarding or crossing the border with my music right now.
Una artista dispuesta a traspasar todas las fronteras musicales.
I would love to conquer the world.
Stream Close Up, Paulina Rubio. Este jueves, solo en E! Entertainment Television.
We've taken you deep inside the intricate characters and relationships that define the Star Wars series. Now, let's take a look at the incredible anticipation that surrounds each new Star Wars release.
This latest Star Wars saga comes 3 years after the release of Phantom Menace, so there was plenty of interest in Attack of the Clones when Toys R Us held its Midnight Madness sale. The event was for shoppers who wanted to be the first to get their hands on the new merchandise.
There is an agreement amongst all those who sell Star Wars products that they won't sell until the 23rd of April. And since at 1 second after midnight on the 22nd, it becomes the 23rd of April, Midnight Madness has become an event that is the first launch of new product for Star Wars. We will have major Star Wars shops in every store in the United States, and upon release, every store in the world. And so this is one of the most exciting things that will happen in the year 2002 is a new Star Wars film. The supply will not meet the demand at all for the first few months. And so the real diehard collectors who've been doing this for more than 20 years will come out tonight.
If I leave with enough money to be able to pay my rent, I know I haven't bought enough toys. We're going to be spending a lot of money, though. Over $500.
It's really easy to get caught up in this mentality when there's so many people clamoring for the same thing. You feel like, oh, I'm missing out on something if I don't get it, but we have a mature distance.
I had all the toys. Now I have a little kid, so I can buy him all the toys or give him all the toys that I have. And if I don't ever get another acting job, I can always use that stuff to put him through college.
Vehicles and lightsabers are popular toys, but the most coveted items are the action figures.
It's weird to have toys of you, but it's kind of cool too because it's really fun to, make kids happy.
I just don't like it when my sister goes, "Hey, Jake, you can fly," and throws my action figure down the stairs.
Even Star Wars creator George Lucas has his favorite items.
I think the two things that I got the most joy out of, one was an R2-D2 cookie jar, and the other was a Chewbacca mug. I still have those on my desk.
Toy stores are packing them in, but theaters are also ready for the rush. The world-famous Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood has a history of attracting large crowds of Star Wars fans.
When you think about coming to see a spectacular piece of film and you want to see it in all of its scope and glory, this is the place to do it. Both Star Wars and Grauman's Chinese Theater are both icons of Hollywood. When the original Star Wars came out, I don't think that anyone, even the studios, really knew what sort of phenomenon it would be, so obviously the theater wasn't really prepared.
Word got out this weird sci-fi movie that opened up in Grauman's, I think, and then people told their friends, and then there were lines around the block.
Our manager at the time, a man by the name of Elmer Haynes, showed up to work as usual at 8 o'clock in the morning, and lo and behold, the forecourt is completely packed with people, sleeping bags, everything, lined up both ways around the block, and he was stunned.
I was at the Grauman Chinese for the opening.
I didn't get a chance to see it till like the fourth day I tried, because it had sold out, so many shows. And then when I saw it, I must have went back to the theater about 10 or 15 times.
Luckily, the staff at Grauman's Chinese had about 20 years to prepare for the new trilogy.
The line for The Phantom Menace started about 5 months before the opening of the film, and people stretched all around the block. For the first week of the film, they ran showtimes 24 hours a day.
I camped out for 28 hours so I could get tickets for Phantom Menace.
For Attack of the Clones, our preparations kind of mirror what we did for Phantom Menace. We're upping our staff, we're preparing the barricades, extra security.
It seems the only question about Episode 2 is whether it will be as successful as Episode 1.
I could say right now that it probably will end up doing well over 300 million, maybe in the 350 million range is possible. It's not as much as Phantom Menace. There has to be a little bit of loss of interest, and also there's so much competition now compared to what there was when Phantom Menace opened.
From Spider-Man to Men in Black to Star Wars, 2002 could be one of the biggest box office summers of all time. All right, before we go, it's time for another installment of 6 Degrees of Star Wars with Kathy Pillsbury. This time, Kathy, you are not allowed to use Luke or Anakin Skywalker. Here's your final challenge. Create a relationship chain between Jar Jar Binks and the smooth-talking friend of Han Solo, Lando Calrissian.
Okay, this one I'll even do it backwards for you. See, Lando is an old buddy of Han Solo who's in love with Princess Leia. Leia is the daughter of Queen Amidala, who worked with Jar Jar Binks to save the planet of Naboo from the Trade Federation. How's that?
That was perfect. Thanks, Kathy.
That's our special inside peek at the Star Wars series. Now get ready for Attack of the Clones. I'm Samuel Jackson. Enjoy the show.
What took us so long?
A continuación, The A-Truth.